I've been to Japan.
I'll start from the beginning. I actually managed to sleep a little the night before going, and then on the train ride to the airport I looked out the window at people, thinking really smug things to myself like, some people walk their dog on a Monday morning, some people go to Japan. First I took a regular plane to Moscow, then after dealing with security and passport personnel that were not very friendly, looking at some Russian souvenirs and their ongoing attempts to make Vladimir Putin look like a comic book superhero, I got on the plane to Tokyo. A very nice plane for economy class, I have to admit, with 2 meals and monitors in every seat back. Unfortunately, but expectedly, I didn't sleep on the plane. And when I got to Japan, I was very tired. But screw it, right? I was in Japan! And because I'm not an experienced traveler, and because Asia in general feels like another world to a Swede like me, I caught myself thinking things like, wow, they have trees in Japan too, just like us! Anyway, I got to the hotel. The room wasn't very big, but nice for what I paid for.
It looks like I'm in Japan. Not nearly big enough.
I got the standard high-tech Japanese toilet too.
Oh, I'm making a whole video.
On my first day in Japan, I kept to the area around my hotel, which was in Nishikasai, on the eastern side of Tokyo. First impressions of Japan were very good. They're polite and nice, and although I at first felt it unnecessary that they spout a lot of standard pleasantries in the stores, later in the week when I came to a place where they didn't do that, it felt weird. Now, because I didn't sleep on the flight, I had to go to sleep as early as 6:30 Japanese time, which resulted in me waking up at 2 at night, and then of course I couldn't sleep. But at least I got to watch the sunrise in the land of the rising sun. The Wednesday was devoted to game shopping, which I will detail in a later video. Thursday was largely spent in Kabukicho, Shinjuku, the area featured in the Yakuza games, but also more on that in the next video. But before I went to Shinjuku that day, I went to Odaiba, the artificial island. I was going to go to the HQ of Fuji TV and buy some merchandise of my favorite Japanese television show, Game Center CX. But to my surprise and disappointment, they didn't sell any. They sold plenty of Dragon Ball and One Piece stuff, but nothing from Game Center CX. At least I got to go up to the 25th floor and the observation deck inside that big ball of theirs. There I looked at the view, of course. But I also played an old tabletop Space Invaders game. I also found out that the Japanese have a replica of the Statue of Liberty. Jumping ahead to Friday, when I took the Nozomi Shinkansen to Tokyo and met Susumu Homa, who I had talked to on Twitter previously, and he showed me around to the place where my childhood was forged, the Nintendo headquarters.
Här står jag utanför Nintendos högkvarter i Kyoto. Där jag hela min barndom har skapats. Alla Mario-spel, Zelda, Fire Emblem, Kirby, Pokémon, jag har inte spelat i och för sig. Star Fox, allt. Hela min barndom skapad i det här huset. Där inne kanske Shigeru Miyamoto sitter just nu. Sakurai kanske sitter där inne. Iwata han kanske fortfarande är ledig. Wow. Jag trodde aldrig jag skulle stå här liksom. Det är... Oj. Nintendo. Arigatou gozaimashita.
A stone's throw away from there lied Nintendo's newly completed second building. Same style as the previous, but a little swankier looking. Then we went to the older neighborhood and found the old Nintendo building. I'm not sure when the building was first being used by Nintendo, but the Japanese version of the plaque on it is written from right to left, which was something done in Japan before the Second World War. Seeing Nintendo's 3 buildings in person was a dream come true for me, a lifelong Nintendo fan. There are lots of temples in Kyoto, but to me Nintendo's buildings are temples of gaming. Anyway, after that we walked for a bit, ending up in Gion, the old geisha district. There we stopped at a restaurant and had tempura. It was good, but I forgot to take a picture. After that, Susumu had to leave, but I walked around Gion for another while and found the other kind of temple. It was Kenninji, the oldest Zen temple in Japan. Kyoto was a really nice town, and a nice change of pace from the lively Tokyo. Kyoto felt more warm and tranquil, even in the more central parts. The last thing I did in Kyoto before going back was exploring their very cool main station, which had a rainbow staircase and an observation deck, where I again could see both of Nintendo's current headquarters in the distance. On Saturday I met up with Tomoyuki Naruse, who I had contacted on couchsurfing, and went around Akihabara for a second time. We went back to the game stores I had been in on the Wednesday, but much more too. After a visit to a toy museum, we ate some ramen, and I have to say, real ramen from a restaurant is a million times tastier than the ones you get in a cup. Before rounding off the day with a visit to an arcade, a good one too, that had several floors and 2 of them with retro games like Splatterhouse, Contra and Ikari Warriors, we went to a karaoke place. It was my second time after Shinjuku, but it's something else with a Japanese person tagging along. For my last whole day in Japan, I decided to be a little more touristy, and I went to the Tokyo Sky Tree, the tallest building in Japan.
See the Sky Tree here reflected in this building, and of course the real thing. Da-da-da.
Then I went to Shibuya, which is an area I'd been recommended to see several times by people I know. Going across the famous Shibuya crossing was an experience, and Shibuya had some nice stores, but in general it felt a little bit too cosmopolitan than say Akihabara or Shinjuku, which I preferred. After walking around a bit there, I stumbled across the NHK building, which is Japan's national television broadcaster, like SVT in Sweden. They had some sort of cultural festival going on. From there I walked into Yoyogi Park, which looked like Japan's Central Park or something. It was pretty huge. Lots of people there were relaxing and throwing frisbees and so on, and they also had a so-called dog run, where dogs could run around wild and free. After, of course, walking in the wrong direction for a while, I headed out the east exit and then around to enter the Meiji Shrine. What I remember most from there is actually not the monks playing instruments and so on, but that I was really tired and my back was hurting. But twice I sat down and twice someone came up to me and said that I couldn't sit there. From there I walked to the nearest subway station, which was Harajuku. I've been told to visit there too, and there were a lot of people there then, but I was too tired, so I just went back via the subway. On the Monday, I started the journey home. I know a little Japanese, which I got to use while over there, and while I don't really know enough to converse with people yet, it was only a problem once. I was trying to buy something in a 7-Eleven, but the cashier started talking a lot and I didn't understand, so I had been talking to my Google Translate app, but that didn't quite work either. Finally I heard him say keihin, which means prize, and then I realized that the thing I was trying to buy was actually a prize in a raffle that's not for sale in a normal manner. The whole thing took maybe 10 minutes out of his workday, but he wasn't annoyed as I imagine people getting over here, dealing with an ignorant foreigner. Another time I was going to buy some games, what a shock, and I put money in the little tray and everything, but then the guy started talking about yen and stuff, and I was confused. I thought maybe he was talking about possible discounts or something, but then when he finally pointed to the money tray, I saw that, oops, I had put a 1,000 yen bill there instead of a 10,000 yen. To my defense, I hadn't slept for maybe 20 hours, but still, embarrassing. But again, he never got annoyed. During my whole week in Japan, I had only one unpleasant experience. One time after getting on the train, a guy with one of those masks on took it off, breathed on me, and then put the mask back on. It was like he was trying to give me the flu or something. I didn't react much right there, but when it was too late, I thought of what I could have said. Nanda omae! Gaijin ga suki janai desu ka? Sure da yo! But hey, one asshole out of 126 million isn't bad. What can I say? Being in Japan was a dream come true, and I really liked it there. It will probably be a long time until I can experience something that will top what I experienced in Japan. I can also say that going to Japan gives me extra motivation to keep learning the language of Japanese. Because as I said 4 months ago,
I have a dream